Drinks, food, art, fun. This is Hops and Spirits Kentucky.
We've had some wild weather here in March. I hope your month's off to a good start. It's still going well, and I can't wait to share another episode with you. We got a good one this week as we talk with Old Louisville Whiskey and their co-founder to talk about how they got their launch and got started. It's a really cool chat to see how he built up, or how they built up a brand, and we're very, very patient. I will say that. But before we get to that, some news and notes in What's Pouring Kentucky. First up, a couple events. The Nulu, Bock, and Wurst Fest will return on Saturday, March 25th from noon to 6 p.m. along East Market Street in Louisville. The free annual festival is known for its Bock beer, Wurst sausages, and goat racing. That's right, goat racing. You can more info at nulu.org. That is NULU.org. Over in Lexington, a partnership with the nonprofit Casa de la Cultura Kentucky, Smiley Pete announced that Crave Taco Week 2023 is returning Monday, March 20th through Sunday, March 26th. Restaurants will offer 2 unique off-menu tacos, 1 meat and 1 vegetarian option, for $6 per plate. To see what restaurants are participating and their offerings, check out cravetacoweek.com. For some fun for kids and adults, they'll get to experience the first immersive Lego and coffee cafe in the country this summer at Newport on the Levee up in northern Kentucky. The Brickey Café in play comes from the mind of Cincinnati native Daniel Johnson, who is a certified facilitator of the Lego Serious Play Method, a facilitated thinking, communication, and problem-solving technique for use with organizations, teams, and individuals. The cafe will unite shopping, dining, and entertainment under one roof next to Velocity Esports there at Newport on the Levee. The cafe will feature 3 main areas: a retail space for new and used Legos, a cafe, and a play area for kids. And congratulations goes out to Louisville's Bourbons Bistro, which was named Bar of the Year by American Whisky Magazine for the 2nd year in a row. So props to them. The recognition is part of the publication's Icons of Whiskey Awards, which recognizes the whiskey industry worldwide. Bourbons Bistro offers a bourbon-inspired food menu and boasts more than 100 whiskeys, so congrats to them. Up next, though, is our Q&A with Amine Karaoud of Old Louisville Whiskey. Hear how they got their start and how patient they were to do that. It's a cool story. Enjoy.
Remember to check out Hops and Spirits on social media at Hop Spirits, all one word, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also find Hops and Spirits on YouTube and at hopspirits.com.
Joining us here for our Q&A, he's the co-founder, and they just recently launched not too long ago. Please welcome in Amine Karaoud, co-founder of Old Louisville Whiskey.
Thank you.
And I said it right because I about panicked as soon as I actually had to say it. It was recorded.
No. I noticed there.
Yeah, there's a little pause. So, well, welcome in. And
thanks, buddy.
I always like to ask this first question because I know people have interesting stories, and it sounds like you've got a really cool one that we'll talk about here. So don't give away every detail because I got some questions. But the Cliff Notes version, tell us a little bit about yourself. But like I said, just not too much.
Sure. So I'm an immigrant. I immigrated to the U.S. 2001, and then I moved to Kentucky 2003. My wife's from here. That's why I ended up in this area. And an engineer by trade, decided to quit engineering and do my own. So I bought a liquor store. I opened a second one. And then that's how I got interested and started a brand. And that's how I started working on it 7 years ago. So that's in a nutshell my story.
I like it. And you touched on it. You moved to Kentucky, I believe, in 2003 or so. Is that right?
Yeah.
But you came from Tunisia, is that right? And then ended up in
born
the
and
US?
raised in Tunis. Yeah.
So how does that happen?
Oh, well, I mean, it's like any immigrant, right? We have much better opportunity in the US, and it's pretty much everybody's chasing the American dream, right? So 2001, I moved to New York City, met my wife in 2002, and then she's from here. She was going to school. I was about to start school. So she was like, well, if you want me, you need to move to Kentucky. I'm like, okay. So I packed my stuff and moved to Kentucky in summer of 2003. So and the rest is history.
Well, I was gonna say, and like you said in your opening there, you ended up owning and running a liquor store, Red Castle Liquors, there in Louisville. What kind of pushed you to go that route? Because that's not exactly something that everyone always thinks of.
Yeah, yeah. So when I was a corporate engineer, I invested in the area called Old Louisville. It's a neighborhood here in Louisville. It's the oldest, it's the original city basically, and it's nested between downtown and the campus of University of Louisville. So I bought some rental properties with the hope to one day be independent and don't have to work for anybody. So when the opportunity came and the liquor store was available for sale, the old gentleman that owned it was ready to retire after running it for 23 years. I was able to buy it because I had other properties in my bank and I had a job and my bank was willing to finance it. So, um, I've been always been told, hey, liquor store business is very, very solid, very it doesn't matter what the economy is, people always drink, right? And I'm like, well, that would be the perfect business to jump into, right? So a friend of mine used to live in Old Louisville, half a block from the store. He's like, hey, dude, the store is for sale, and the guy is desperate to sell it. He's ready to retire, and I'm ready to start something new. So that's how kind of the journey started, really more serious journey in the whiskey. So
Well, and I was gonna say, during this time you mentioned that, Old Louisville whiskey has been kind of in the planning process, and you've been building up to it for almost a decade. You're closer to
yeah,
that mark than anything else. So you were buying barrels along the way, and not like what people might think of for like a normal store pick. You buy the barrel, you do the store pick. You were actually buying barrels and setting them aside.
yeah, yeah. So 2015, I bought a liquor store. Obviously, the boom is kind of like it got started pre. I would say 15 was kind of like 14, 15, like more people are getting involved. Store picks are getting very popular. So being the store owner, the manager, the purchasing person. So I got involved with a lot of groups. We've done so many store picks back when you can call any distillery basically and you can go pick and within 2, 3 months. Now, last 2 years before I sold my stores, because we're so small, we can't even buy barrels. We're not important enough, you know. So, but then I saw a lot of new brands surfacing, and I was like, well, what's going on here? Who's distilling all this? This is back when OKI had 12 years, Bellmead had 12 years single barrel all day long for $60 on the shelf. Blum Brother was another brand that did phenomenal work with some source stuff. So I started calling around. I was like, well, who's selling all this whiskey to them? I called MGP. It took me about 20 phone calls to get an answer or somebody to talk to me. And then my first purchase order was 3 barrels. I mean, I didn't have a lot of cash, so I bought 3 barrels. My goal was like every month I make a little bit of profit instead of spending it or put it away. I'm just gonna buy barrels with no plans, not not really planned, mapped out by any mean. So my first purchase order, I don't think the salesperson from MGP was very happy. Like he thought maybe I would be the next Angel's Envy buying 1,000 barrels or whatever, and I had purchase order of 3 barrels, so it was harder to get a hold of him after that. But
If
that's
only
how,
he knew.
yeah, that's how it started. I bought a few handful of barrels here and there until I decided to go all in 3 years ago, and I sold my store, my main store that makes the bread and butter, and used all the investment to buy barrels. So
Well, and I was gonna say you kind of also you sold off a few investments too, which kind of led you to the name and the moniker. But what made you decide it was that time to go full in and not just kind of have this kind of more as a side project, but now this be the full project?
yeah, Honestly, I've been very close and keeping very close eye on the market and the whiskey prices as far as the wholesale pricing, even on the shelf. I mean, all reflects. If it starts from the wholesale level, it's gonna impact the retail level. So 3 years ago, I was like, I don't think there's a better time right now to go all in, and I'm glad I did because the barrels we bought 3 years ago, you can't even touch them right now. They don't exist. A lot of brands have surfaced in the last 12 years, and they used a lot of that good juice, that aged stock from MGP or whoever the distillery was willing to sell aged stock. Now it's, if you want to start today, it's good luck. There is no aged stock. Um, you have to wait. So what led me to do that? I don't know. I was maybe I saw it coming. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be like saying I saw everything happen. Nobody really saw this boom coming. Honestly, even the big guys, they have, forecasters and economists working on staff. They did not see this. But I was like, if now or never, I guess.
Well, and it worked out, and being able to buy those barrels when you did, even if it was three at a time or whatever, those prices don't exist
Yeah, no, they don't.
anymore. So
They don't. Absolutely not.
so I mean, it kind of works out, and was it tough though, kind of sitting and biding your time to kind of since when it was right for you, because obviously if anyone knows anything about this game, it's an expensive game. It's not something
Yeah.
that is a cheap investment. So was it weird to kind of just sit on that investment and wait until that right time?
I mean, it is. We also waited until we have a good package. I mean, we worked with 3, 4 different designers. We went through probably over 20 designs of label, and we never satisfied. And we didn't rush. We had whiskey north of 14 years at that time, and we're like, look, this label doesn't even look good. We're not gonna go to the market. And then the toughest thing, really. The here and there it hits me. It's a lot of brands have surfaced after I been purchasing barrels and they've done very well in the market. And I'm like, I'm missing out. I'm waiting too long, right? But I think everything played out very well. Timing, I couldn't ask for better timing to penetrate this market. A lot of brands don't wait long enough to have 7 and 8 and 9 year old bourbon. They're typically 4, 5, 6 at best. Everything we've been bottled so far is 7 and older, nothing younger than that. Everything we're offering here as bottle your own is 6.5, 7 to 10 year old bourbon. We have some 16-year whiskey. So, things happen for a reason, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it was always tough to look at your investment sitting there, and other brands have went to 10 states or 15 states and moving volume truckloads of whiskey. But we're in business now, so
Well, and you've got a really cool bottle and a logo, and and to me, it's not just a good one. They're pretty impressive. It's really cool to see what you did and everything that went in there. And you worked with, I believe it was Ashley Tromler that ended up doing the final
yeah,
design.
yeah,
Can you talk a little bit about how that? Because like you said, apparently it took a little while to get to that right design, but I think
yeah,
that
yeah.
wait was worth it.
Absolutely. So after working with other designers and we really didn't get anywhere or anything satisfying, my wife reached out to her mom group on Facebook. It was like, "Hey, do you guys recommend any local designer?" We wanted to have that face to face, somebody local, somebody we can sit down with on a short notice and do changes. It's very difficult to do artwork or design work with all remote. Um, so somebody recommended Ashley. We reached out to Ashley. We set up a meeting. We went to a coffee shop, local coffee shop. We met with her. She never designed a liquor bottle, but funny enough, she was living in Old Louisville and she was super excited to be part of the project. And we gave her kind of like the concept. I had in mind, like I had my mind set, I want to use an old map of the city. And what do you see on the map here, on the label, is 1884 map of the city. But I actually just took our ideas and kind of like learned a little bit of our style as people. And she came back with like 12 different designs, and this one kind of like stood out. She had beautiful designs to begin with, all of them. And then this one kind of like, we're like, we love it's not your usual label of whiskey. It's like the overlapping, crisscross, and it just, you don't see that a lot. And we're like, that's awesome. Like, let's tweak the label. And she did a phenomenal work. So I highly
Well,
recommend her. She got really busy. She moved to Colorado, so she's not taking a lot of jobs right now. But I'm pretty sure she's gonna be slammed busy if she wants to focus on the liquor business.
well, I was gonna say, I mean, even down to where the Red Star is, which is where your original liquor store was. I mean, there's a
Yeah,
touch of everything on that label for you all.
yeah. She really did nail it and did an awesome work. So
And then the name Old Louisville, obviously you are there, but it's an ode to not just that, but your investments that kind of help pay for this. Is that exactly the story to it? Nothing more, nothing less.
yeah, I mean we love Old Louisville as a neighborhood. It's very diverse. It's a beautiful architecture. Like it's, I don't know if you ever been to Louisville or not. Have you visited the area of Old Louisville? Just gorgeous architecture from, Victorian era, 1800, early 1900. So there's a lot of history, and I love my history. I love architecture. And then with that, like we owned a lot of properties there, and then we owned the liquor store where we really learned about whiskey, about the trade in depth. Um, and then we had to sell it all to gamble on the brand. So it made sense to call it Old Louisville. And shockingly, nobody have used Old Louisville before in a whiskey. I mean, we have Old Louisville Brewery in town, but nobody used it in the whiskey industry. So we were very lucky to even like be able to register that name and own it. So some
Well, then,
people, we have some couple people in town, they're like, oh well, you're using a neighborhood name, and they're not like very happy. And I'm like, I don't think there's anything wrong with using a neighborhood name. Like, so, but
well, and it's your home.
you
It's your
can't
home, right?
satisfy, yeah, you can't satisfy everybody. Somebody's always have something negative to say.
This is true. This is true. Now, how excited were you when you finally did get to release that first batch last year and get this actually out there for folks to try?
Honestly, I'm a type of person that doesn't really get super excited like over things. Obviously, this is not a small thing by any mean. It's my life saving, my life investment here. The most exciting part about lunch and that brand and having the lunch party here in town is the amount of support of friends and family that came and were here for the party. It was very touching. We had, all the friends that I made throughout the years in the bourbon industry, the bourbon club folks. Everybody was very supportive. That came in. It was 100 degrees in the warehouse. We're all sweating, drinking whiskey. And it was a fun 3 days. We did three parties, and I survived all three of them.
And you're still standing, and
Yeah,
things
yeah.
things are going well,
Still
and since
drinking.
yeah, exactly. Like I said, it's never uh it's a fun place to be at, and since then that first release, you've got your rye has been released. I believe you're onto the second batches as well. Um, how cool is it to be able to now build off of that and have those additional releases and offerings?
It's very exciting because now we're seeing the fruit of the investment. We start seeing income coming in. For the last 7 years, we're just continuously putting our saving and our investment into barrels with, a lot of unknown. You don't know when you get to gamble like this or take risk. You don't know, like COVID hit, it could have changed the dynamic of the entire market. Luckily, it didn't. Um, Everybody is worried about recession for the last few years. We still, I think we're still economically fine. So I would say we're just lucky, I guess.
Sometimes plans work, and you have a
Yeah.
little bit of luck on your side. And for those that are curious about what to expect when they get an Old Louisville bottle. I mean, obviously the bottle's beautiful, cool label, it stands out on the shelf, but what can they expect from the juice inside of it?
So, like I mentioned earlier, we waited until we had enough inventory. We also waited until our barrels are pretty well mature. I'm a whiskey drinker. I've been drinking whiskey since I moved to the US. Specifically, when I moved to Kentucky, I got introduced to bourbon. So, I've been a bourbon lover for almost 20 years this summer. Uh, so, I'm behind quality. I believe in quality. Bourbon wise, we really believe that nothing should be bottled less than 6.5, 7. Younger than that, I think there's a lot of youthness, a lot of immature whiskey, and it should not be consumed, at least in our the category that we're going after, a premium category. So if you're buying a bottle, you're expecting the juice to back the beautiful label, not just the package. It's also age, quality of whiskey, uncut and filter. We don't believe in adding water. We believe everybody have access to water. You can add water at home. Non-chill filtration, because we want as natural as possible, as close as possible to straight from the barrel. The only thing we do is we screen the charcoal out of the barrels. We don't add water. We don't chill filter. We want to give a good expression of straight from the barrel bourbon. And when you buy our barrels or our label, whether it's age stated or batches, we choose not to put any age on the batches because there's various ages in these barrels. All of our single barrels are age stated, so when you buy in a single barrel. Right now, we've done 3 expressions that are 7.5, 8, and 9.5. So nothing is young. We're not going for consistency, so we have a lot of mash bills. Basically, every batch you expect something different, whether it's a proof, age, or recipe. So
I like it. It's an adventure and a fun one. So I guess the thought process is batch releases and kind of letting the whiskey and the juice speak for itself.
yeah.
That is awesome. And I believe you've got a tasting room now as well. How important was it to kind of have that added aspect where folks can come by, see you guys, get to know you, and get to try the whiskey?
Yeah. So we also decided to do everything under our roof. That's also why it took us a little longer than most people. A lot of brands that they don't necessarily have a tasting room or bottling facility or Asian. They basically buy bulk, send it to a co-packer, they pack it for them, send it to a distributor, and goes out to the market. But I really wanted to have access to my barrels anytime, any day, and be able to taste every day, blend and play with my barrels. Because if you think about it, if you're sourcing and you're just labeling, most of these brands are gonna source certain recipe. They don't have access to their barrels. They're all at the mercy of whoever stored it for them to pull samples, send it to them. Then they're at the mercy of the co-packer's schedule. So with us having everything under our roof, we have the gift shop, we have the tasting room, we have the bottling facility, and we have capacity to store 400 barrels here. So that gives us more unique setting and the ability to show off our product hands-on, not just a label or social media pictures or videos. Now you can come if you're in town, or whether you live here or you're visiting, you can come. We can show you what we do. we can taste you straight from the barrel. So, and you're allowed to you bottle your own as well. So that's why we did what we did, and waited to have our own facility to do all this.
Even though you said there wasn't a plan, it sounds like there was a very good plan when it all came together.
Yeah, yeah. Now, when we decided to go all in, I decided, I talked to co-packers and I talked to other places to, low cost, low overhead cost, but I decided to have the flexibility and control over the bottling instead of sending it out. So.
It makes sense. It gives you guys an added dimension that others don't have, and it sounds like that is just being true to you. And I've been fortunate enough to, like I said, try a little bit of it. And I believe on one of our reviews, we said it's something that we've never tasted before, which is very true, because it's some pretty cool stuff that you guys have been able to bottle.
Which one did you guys review?
The batch one bourbon.
Okay. Yeah, batch one is very unique because most of the barrels were aged in Colombian oak.
Okay.
So it has a very, very unique profile. A lot of the barrels we used in batch one, they were distilled in 2014 and 2015. At that time was a big shortage on the mill side. So a lot of cooperages, they were struggling to find North American Ozark area white oak. So they sourced a lot of staves from Colombia, and they were white Colombian oak, and the profile is not your usual bourbon profile. So.
And I would agree with that. It was something different, something cool, and I think we said that exactly which makes more sense now. Which makes way more sense now. So, obviously this is just the beginning for you all there at Old Louisville. So, what's next for y'all? What can you tell me that you got coming up that won't get you in trouble with the wife or anyone there? And what's the future hold for you guys?
So we are playing with a lot of finishes right now. We took some 7.5 and 8-year-old whiskey, and we're gonna do some brandy finish. We're gonna do a maple cask finish. We're doing a rum finish and Madeira finish. So what's coming up the pipe is some finishes. It's gonna be a different label, more of like a cream or light brownish label. And we're gonna do, again, we're not gonna use anything young. They're all 7.5 to 8 years old barrels. So always mature whiskey, and then quality. So sour mash labels coming out with finishes, and then we're gonna continue to procure and find some good, cool whiskey that we will be bottling next, 5 to 10 to 20 years. So right now we're buying barrels for 20, 30 bottling. So
that is awesome to hear that you're out that far, and it's cool to see what you all have done there in such a short time, and I appreciate you sharing the story with us, Amine, and folks. Like I said, if you haven't, I highly recommend giving Old Louisville a try.
Thank you.
Find more from Hops and Spirits at hopspirits.com.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.